welcome to SVG-TV News for Friday, May 7th, 2021. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Security checkpoints into the red zone will continue both on the leeward and windward ends. On the windward end, the security checkpoint is at Rabaca, and on the leeward end, it is just before Chateaubelair. Speaking on the radio yesterday, Prime Minister Dr. Gonzalez was asked if 24-hour security stopped. While not directly responding to the question of the 24-hour security, PM Gonzalez said security in the red zone communities has been tightened.
It is better if you make sure you lock off people going up in the real dangerous area. I also said to the commissioner that the information had come to me that the police officers who were there were not sufficiently strict in controlling the entry into the red zone, and that they're not there just to wave people by. That's not the purpose. And that it must be strictly enforced. And he gave me the assurance that that would be the case.
PM Gonzalez said that the police are aware of a number of burglaries in these communities and are dealing with the reports.
So we are aware of the issue. The commissioner is addressing it because, as we have seen from disasters in the region, when, even before, whether there's a hurricane or volcano, even before the officials give, because the officials have to be very, very careful, before they give the all clear,
Sulfur dioxide, SO2, continues to be emitted from La Soufrière volcano by the tons, and according to gas specialist Dr. Thomas Christopher, it will not directly impact the island. Speaking on radio this morning, Dr. Christopher, who is now lead scientist monitoring the volcano, explained that the gases go up into the atmosphere, and while they may affect temperatures, the island by itself will not be impacted adversely.
Yeah, I think sulfur dioxide is a aerosol that's emitted from every single volcano, and I mean, I don't think it will affect St. Vincent locally. If you pump enough sulfur dioxide into the air, like some volcanoes would have done, what you get is sort of a global cooling over time. So, for instance, I think Mount Pinatubo that erupted in 1992 would have resulted in a global temperature drop by about 2 degrees over the next year or so. So what it does, it more or less creates a situation where it cools the earth down. But it wouldn't directly affect the island in terms of like causing problems here.
Dr. Christopher has been taking measurements of gases emitted from the volcano since January while it was still effusively erupting. He noted that after the volcano explosively erupted, gas temperatures have varied.
I think the first value we got on the 15th was around 800 tons per day. It's sort of fell away down to around 250 tons per day. Then we got a value around 900 tons per day sometime after that. And then one of 1,000 tons per day. I think it was last Sunday. Okay. So it's moving around a bit. It's not really steady, and that tells us a lot about how the volcano is behaving. Because if you were to bring up a button, isolate it, and have it degas, basically the gas flux would start at whatever level, and it should systematically fall away as the magma is losing gas. However, what we're seeing here is the gas seems to be going up at times and coming down at times. It's difficult to say if there is some sort of top control in this, if it's being sealed at the top sometimes, so we're not seeing all of it, or if all of that varies from the source. That is something that we need to verify.
The alert level at La Soufrière was on Tuesday downgraded to orange from red. Dr. Christopher said over the past 24 hours, there have been no unusual activities taking place at the volcano. He said they continue to closely monitor the volcano, noting that the alert level could go back to red if there is an explosion.
Started to extrude that dome, it would have probably been orange for an extended period of time. Because even though it was erupting, it wasn't a dangerous eruption at the time yet.
Right.
When we saw the explosions coming, that is when we changed the alert level to red. But just at the moment, the explosion seems to have bit. We haven't had one for a while, so it probably makes sense to lower the alert level a bit, just to relax a bit. If we see reason for any changes in that, inform the authorities accordingly. And it probably might be raised back up to red if we think that there are more explosions coming. But right now, we have no reason to think that there are any coming.
Prime Minister Dr. Gonzalez today made an appeal to UN leaders to act boldly to address issues of peace and security globally. Prime Minister Gonzalez was representing SVG in a debate on maintenance of international peace and security, upholding multilateralism and the United Nations Center International System. The meeting was convened by China. Prime Minister Gonzalez said all countries must work together to address problem posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and other challenges which must be prioritized.
Mr. President, in the face of vast but continually expanding peace and security challenges experienced globally, we must move quickly in a fresh direction. Bold and innovative steps are needed to alleviate human suffering, especially in conflict-affected settings. Capacity building and development assistance should be scaled up, and national ownership over peace and political processes strengthened.
The Prime Minister told the UN discussion that the needs of the people must be carefully crafted and implemented in a timely manner, and that the initiatives must be supported by the UN as well as regional and sub-regional bodies.
When disputes do occur, they ought to be settled amicably and equitably through dialogue, diplomacy, mediation, and other participatory approaches, rather than through unilateral or coercive means. There can be no substitute for trust and mutual respect. Any deviation from these universally accepted norms, wheresoever and by whomsoever committed, severely undermines the ideals of multilateralism embodied in the UN Charter. St. Vincent and the Grenadines reiterate its commitment to these guiding principles.
St. Lucia's National Security Minister Herman Gill Francis says while he supports the move toward marijuana law reform, he cannot be asked to break the law. The authorities in St. Lucia recently turned down a request from the pro-ganja group, the Ayanola Council for the Advancement for Rastafari, to export cannabis from St. Lucia to the volcano-stricken SVG on humanitarian grounds. We hear more in this HTS News Force report.
National Security Minister Herman Gill Francis has shot down a request from the Ayanola Council for the Advancement for Rastafari to export marijuana to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The president of ICA, Aaron Alexander, recently announced the body had written to the authorities requesting permission to take 50 pounds of cannabis along with them on a recent humanitarian trip via a vessel to aid the volcano-ravaged island. He said it was for religious purposes.
We use herb as our sacrament, and we know that presently our brothers in St. Vincent, our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent do not have access to the sacrament. So we penned a letter to our Minister of Internal Security, the Honorable Herman Gill Francis, seeking a bit of an exemption to allow us to travel with some of our sacrament to deliver to our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent. We know that cannabis is legal or decriminalized to a great extent in St. Vincent, so we know the Vincentian authorities will not have an issue with that. However, St. Lucia problem. So we wrote to our Minister of Internal Security, Herman Gill Francis. We carbon copied a letter to the Honorable Prime Minister Alan Shastley, also to the Comptroller of Customs and also the Commissioner of Police.
Speaking to the media on the steps of Parliament on Thursday ahead of the sitting of the Senate, the National Security Minister would not even countenance the thought of such a request given the current prohibition of cannabis.
I was happy that he was sending goods and services to his people in St. Vincent. I had a problem with that. But you can't ask me to break the law. That's ridiculous, and I'm going to justify that by responding. I'm not going to respond to that. As a matter of fact, the first thing that they should have taken is just put this on the side. You cannot ask a Minister of Justice to break the law. It's simple, and I explained everything. I said I've been in the forefront of this marijuana thing from day one. I've spoken twice on the subject at ICA's platforms, in Viewport and in Soufrière. What I do, there is a process. The legislation is now with the AG's office. It's been drafted, and until then, we don't take any decision.
Pro-ganja groups have expressed frustration at what they see as the slow pace of cannabis law reform, including decriminalization.
The non-profit organization, the World Central Kitchen, arrived in SVG one day following the explosive eruption of La Soufrière volcano and has since been providing hot meals to thousands of displaced Vincentians. Today, our news team visited their location at the Hospitality and Maritime Institute at Diamond and spoke to operations manager Zume Francom, who shared the mission of the World Central Kitchen and its activities on island since the explosive eruption of the volcano.
World Central Kitchen, we are a non-profit organisation based out of Washington DC, and we assist after natural disasters and also humanitarian disasters. We're a band of relief workers and chefs and volunteers and contractors and logistics and delivery professionals who get food, delicious chef-made meals to people who need it the most. So we have provided over 132,000 meals across over 100 locations. I believe it's 109 different locations since we began. And we've been able to do that with the help of our wonderful restaurant partners, whom we've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars into the local food economy as well to support them and also the local Vincentian community.
Francom says operations for the organization in SVG is different when compared to disasters elsewhere due to the vast disbursement of displaced persons in need. The organization currently distributes meals on the leeward and windward sides of the island to both public and private shelters. While international volunteers have risen to the occasion, local volunteers have been instrumental in the World Central Kitchen's ability to provide over 7,000 meals daily. Francom noted that local chefs and students from the SVG Community College Culinary and Hospitality Department have all been an integral part of the organization's successful work on the ground.
The makeup of our volunteers, and our contractors, is Vincentian. We've had tremendous help from the community college here, the culinary students and both the hospitality students, and it's been a really great opportunity for them to learn, in real life, what it is like cooking thousands and thousands of meals or making thousands and thousands of sandwiches each day, which go out into the community. We've had local wonderful chefs, who've been able to guide us as well to get those beautiful flavor profiles. And so it's, really without the volunteer community and our contractors here, we would not be able to do this.
Daily assessments carried out by the World Central Kitchen's ground team are being used to determine the duration of their operations on ground, but Francom says they will be here for as long as they are needed. She also shared information for how persons may lend support to the organization's mission.
We have our wonderful delivery professionals. We also have, our ground team making assessments from day to day. As we both know, things can change day to day. So we're here to support for as long as needed. We anticipate it'll be at least another few weeks. And then, as I say, we will keep on, having boots on the ground and talking to the community so that we can support, in the best way that we can for as long as we can.
The World Central Kitchen remains closed to the public for safety and logistic purposes. All distribution of meals is done through their delivery personnel. However, persons requesting meals can do so through the social media channels at WC Kitchen on Instagram or via email at hellowckitchen.org. In other news, 6 new COVID-19 positive cases were reported from 111 samples processed on Wednesday, May 5, 2021, resulting in a positivity rate of 5.4%. One of the 6 new cases is an evacuee in an emergency shelter. Positive cases identified in the emergency shelters now on lockdown have been transferred and isolated at a separate facility. COVID-19 testing continues to be offered across all emergency shelters. 8 new recoveries were noted over the reporting period. 142 cases are currently active and 12 persons with COVID-19 have died. 1,895 cases of COVID-19 and 1,741 recoveries have been recorded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The public is urged to continue to use masks, sanitize, physically distance, and get vaccinated to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in SVG. The Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment CPEA, which is usually held during the Easter holidays, will now be held in July this year. This is according to Minister of Education Curtis King, who said that the date will be finalized was to be finalized today with the Caribbean Examination Council, the CXC. King, who was on radio this morning addressing educational issues, said that following the CPEA examinations, CAPE will then be written.
We have a set period, let me put it this way. Why I say set period? Because we have submitted dates to the CXC, and at 3:30 p.m. this afternoon we have a follow-up meeting again with CXC. Hopefully this might be the final one, I'm hoping so, but we are going to be fine-tuning all those details, timetabling, dates, and timeline for the education. But we have had general agreement that these exams would be held July, in late July in the case of the CPEA exam, and July, August, even August, September for the CSEC examinations.
Informal teaching commences next week, and on May 17, face-to-face teaching will commence for grade 6 and Form 5 students. King added that students will be given at least 8 weeks of face-to-face teaching, which is necessary for them to perform well at these regional exams. In preparation for this, the Education Minister said teachers would have to be relieved of volunteering at shelters.
As to the human resources, that might be easier to deal with in the sense that, yes, our teachers are very much involved, and I want to thank them and commend them, the principals and teachers who are doing a wonderful job in terms of the management of these shelters. But we have to redeploy them, and that is why I was outlining earlier that we are basically appealing to the broader government level where we can have some of the civil servants and public servants, if you like, engage now, and volunteers from the different communities engage in the management of these shelters so that the teachers can be freed up so that they could go ahead and do what they're basically trained to do.
Children could be at increased risk for abuse, sexual violence, neglect, and even human trafficking while in emergency shelters. With this in mind, Child Protection Officer in the Child Development Division of the Ministry of National Mobilization, Camille McIntosh, is appealing to persons in shelters who may suspect a child being in danger or abuse to call the child abuse hotline number at 4211 or the division.
No, parents know they're frustrated because they would have lost their homes, they would have lost their jobs, they're not financially free. So it's a frustrating time, all around. And they would want to basically take it out on the children. So it would lead to physical abuse, it would lead to verbal and emotional abuse. But they also have to understand too that it is a new experience for children. They too are frustrated because they would have had to leave their homes, they had to leave their friends. School is not on for some. So what they would have known as regular, as the norm, is not the norm anymore. And they have to understand that children too, they have to you have to be able to talk to them about the experience, what they're experiencing. So parents need to be more open to that. Yes, they're frustrated, but they have to understand that the child too is being frustrated and has a new experience to deal with.
McIntosh said that there have been many complaints of parents abandoning children at shelters for days without knowledge of the authorities of where they've been. She said that parents normally uses the excuse of being in the red zone cleaning. However, she cautions them of the risk and consequences of leaving their children unsupervised in shelters.
Or unsupervised or unaccompanied, where parents or guardians would leave the shelters. Some are saying they've gone back to their homes to do a bit of cleanup, or maybe they went into Kingston for whatever reason to do something, but they're leaving the children unattended for a long period, or may even not come back the same night. Maybe they spend a couple of days. When it is reported to the division, we will work along with the police to try to find the parent wherever they are, because you can't carry children back into the red zone. You're not supposed to carry children back in the red zone right now. So the parents use that as an excuse to say, well, okay, so we're going back to clean or we're going back to do something, but the children are there left unattended, which they're not supposed to. You're always supposed to have your children supervised. Make sure that they are in the care of a trusted adult, and you'd let the shelter manager know. But even if you leave for a couple hours, try to get back to the shelter on time. Try to get back in time to take care of your children.
The Child Protection Officer highlighted some of the assistance and programs that are being offered to support children in shelters by the Ministry of National Mobilization.
Okay, so we are working along with the Ministry of Education for the Return to Happiness program, where we would basically provide an avenue for children to talk about their experiences and help them through that, through play, because they do have the right to play. So we would, go into the shelters and have that program with them so that they feel more comfortable about what they're experiencing. We're also working along with the Ministry of Health, the psychosocial part of things, so that they can have a little counseling and, talk about, again, the experiences, what they're going through, and how we can help them.
A flood watch is in effect for St. Vincent and the Grenadines until 12 p.m. on Sunday, May 9th, 2021. The watch was issued on Thursday evening. A flood watch means that the conditions are favorable and there exists a possibility of flooding within the watch area. The SVG Met Services said unstable conditions interacting with a favorable mid to upper level environment is expected to gradually enhance shower activity across the Eastern Caribbean during the next 48 hours. Consequently, it said occasional light to moderate showers across SVG is likely to increase in frequency, generating heavy showers, gusty winds and thunderstorm activity by Saturday into Sunday. According to the Met Services, latest model guidance is suggesting rainfall accumulations of 50 to 75 millimeters, approximately 2 to 3 inches, with isolated higher amounts in mountainous areas into Sunday. Due to the saturated nature of the soils across the island from previous rainfall events, the Met Services said there is a high possibility of flooding and landslides occurring during the watch period. Residents and motorists in areas prone to flash flooding and landslides or near rivers and streams should be prepared. The Met Services said the flash flood watch may be upgraded to a warning if conditions warrant.